Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go.
Folks, welcome back to another episode of The Fallen Badge. Today, the murder of Officer Robert Kozminski, Grand Rapids Police Department, Michigan. Alright folks, today we're going to be in the great state of Michigan, city of Grand Rapids. Now, Officer Kozminski, he had 7 years with the department. He was 29 years old. Now, at the time of his death, he had a 3-year-old daughter. His parents were still alive, and he had 6 siblings. Now, the suspect, he's got a little bit of a record, but nothing even close to what he was going to get into this particular night. It's July 8th, 2007. Call goes out on a domestic disturbance at a home there in the 1200 block of Emerald Avenue, Northeast. It's about 1:40 in the morning. Now, our suspect, he was going through a divorce, pretty rough one evidently. He'd already been previously arrested and jailed. Now, at the time of this event, he was in direct violation of his conditions of his bond, which was mainly leave your soon-to-be ex-wife alone. Now, I don't know how many officers made this scene. Some of the resource material simply stated it was a domestic disturbance. But now the Court of Appeals made mention of the fact that it could have been updated to a man with a gun threatening to shoot others at the Emerald location. So now ordinarily it'd be 2 officers for a domestic. Now if they updated it to a man with a gun, then you're talking about probably 4 officers at least and a supervisor. So the officers make the scene. Officer Kozminski, he's going to go around to the back of the house. Now behind the house, there's a detached garage. Now this garage, the pedestrian door, if you wanted to walk inside, it's got glass in it, the top portion. Now Officer Kozminski, he stops there at that garage and he peeks in through the glass. And what he didn't know, when the officers had pulled up to the front, the suspect had run and gotten into this detached garage. Makes me wonder if the soon-to-be ex-wife, when she saw him leave through the back of the house, I wonder if she wouldn't have had time to alert the police out front that, hey, by the way, my crazy soon-to-be ex-husband's armed with a shotgun. He just ran out the back. But evidently she didn't get that opportunity. Now, the suspect would later say he heard the officer's radio, 2-way radio going. So he knew it was a police officer that was peeking in the glass. So the suspect cranked off a round from his shotgun, hit Officer Kozminski in the head. The officer goes down. Other officers are able to reach Officer Kozminski, and they're able to carry him to a police cruiser, and they drive him to the hospital. But he dies there at the hospital. Now, I don't know how long it took to get the suspect out of the garage, but at some point they took him into custody, and he was charged with murder. Now, this particular offense in the state of Michigan, it deals with the murder of peace officers or corrections officers. Prosecutors have to prove 4 particular points in order to get this charge. First, the defendant committed a murder, which he did. Second, that the victim was a peace officer or a corrections officer. He was. Third, the victim was lawfully engaged in the performance of any of his or her duties as a peace officer or corrections officer. Officer Kozminski was in the performance of his duties. And fourth, that the defendant knew the victim was a peace officer or corrections officer performing lawful duties at the time of the murder. Well, obviously he did. Now, the appellate court, in their review of the case on the appeals from the defendant, said that the defendant was approximately 10 to 18 feet away from the door when the officer peeked in the glass window. The appeals court also mentioned that the defendant was an award-winning skeet shooter, and they tied that into the fact that Officer Kozminski was shot in the face. The suspect's ex-wife said that the suspect had commented that he would not leave his home without a fight, and he had talked about not wanting to return to jail and about shootouts with the police. And on the night in question, the suspect had said that if the police were called, he might take out a couple of cops. And he also mentioned that people would die. And she said when the police pulled up out front, the suspect said, "Oh no, not the cops." And then he said, "I'm ready," before he ran out the back of the house into the garage with his shotgun. The suspect had also told her that the police were out to get him. And he would confess to investigators later that he fired the shotgun when he heard the police radio outside the garage. Now, of course, during his statement to investigators and later in his appeal, he claimed he was just trying to fire a warning shot. I don't think anyone believes that story. But he did admit during his statement to investigators that he knew that was a police officer at the door of the garage. Now, the suspect would say in his appeal of his sentence, by the way, he got life, no parole, that he shouldn't be charged with what is the equivalent of first-degree murder. Said because there wasn't any planning, no premeditation. And the appellate court broke his little heart, and they said, well, guess what? This law, you don't have to have premeditation. So now the suspect will spend the rest of his life in prison, where he certainly belongs. That poor Officer Kozminski, his little girl, she would be about 20 years old by now. Long time ago not having your daddy. Officer Robert Anthony Kozminski. End of watch, July 8th, 2007.